Well, it's a big night for Canadian-American actor Pablo Schreiber. Season 2 of Halo, the TV series based on the critically acclaimed video game of the same name, is now live with its first 2 episodes.
You will not make the stand alone.
We have something the enemy does not. We have heroes.
Schreiber stars as super soldier John 117, better known as Master Chief. Set in a futuristic war, the series follows Master Chief's attempts to defend humanity from an alien threat. So you grew up in BC until you were when?
Until I was 12. I grew up in rural British Columbia at the base of the Canadian Rocky Mountains in the interior, not near Vancouver, about 8-hour drive from Vancouver.
Was it a commune or something like that? 'Cause that's what
I was born on a commune, that's
really?
true. Yeah, a tiny little place in Wild Horse, BC, which is just outside of a slightly bigger town called Weimar.
That's so cool. And
yeah.
so what was that like?
We left when I was 6 months, so I don't really know.
Oh, so you don't remember?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, but you know, my mom told me all about what was going on there and the experiences they had. My parents actually met at a tree planting camp.
No way.
Yeah, they were both tree planters for their summer jobs, and that's how they met.
And at what point did you realize, like, you want to go into acting? This was kind of your thing.
My freshman year of college, I went to school to play basketball, and it became clear pretty quick that I couldn't compete at the Division I level, which was the only one I wanted to play at. And so I had done plays in high school, all through high school, but didn't quite take it seriously. Okay. And when basketball didn't work out, I decided that I would try acting. So I auditioned for one school. It was the only acting school I knew about because my friend's father had graduated from there in the 70s. It's called Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. It was a 4-year conservatory. Okay. I put together a 2-minute, I'd never done a monologue in my life, put together a 2-minute classical monologue, 2-minute modern monologue, took them down to the place they were auditioning in San Francisco by the wharf and auditioned on a whim.
Did you have any training prior to that or just
zero,
like cold?
Zero. And for some reason they accepted me. I have no idea why. And I spent 4 years, learning how to act, and then moved to New York City and did theater for about 10 years.
Do you and your stepbrother ever compare notes when it comes to?
Are you talking about Liev?
Yes.
Half-brother.
Half-brother.
Mm-hmm. Same dad, different mom.
Do you guys ever compare notes when it comes to acting, or is that stuff like?
No, we keep that separate. I see him occasionally with kids and family. It's all about family and you know, catching up, having meals, life stuff, not really acting stuff. It's easy, you know, like when you're in the same industry. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. Yeah. He set the dynamic early on. I had just graduated from college. He was already a pretty successful actor. I got out of school. No, I was actually still in college, and there was a movie shooting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was going to school. And I called him, and I was kind of like feeling him out. I was like, oh, do you know this casting director? Miley, whatever her name, Molly Finn, I think her name was. She's actually a great casting director. I met her later on. And he's like, wait, I'm going to stop you right there. He's like, do you want to be known for your work, or do you want to be known as my brother? And I said, oh, interesting question. And I've never asked him for anything else in the rest of my career. And I make it a point of separating myself from him work-wise. Family-wise, it is what it is.
And do you get, when you do, you know, press and stuff like that, often
not as much anymore?
Yeah.
You know, I used to get a lot of questions about it when I was coming up, but now I have 25 years of work behind me. You know, I've been on The Wire, I've been on Orange is the New Black, I've been nominated for a Tony Award on Broadway. So I think I have my own career now where people are more interested in my work than they are on the family dynamic. So
looking past Halo, what's kind of the next challenge for you? You know, you're talking about all of these different areas you've kind of worked in.
God, I don't know. You know, one of the beautiful things about my career that I've really enjoyed is discovering what's next when it happens. Yeah. Because everything that's come to me has come at this sort of perfect time. Yeah. And I didn't really understand why it came when it came, but then later you piece it all together. It's a kind of a metaphor for life, right? That as it's happening, you don't really understand it, but it all makes sense in retrospect. And for me, in my career, things have happened in such a beautiful way that if I had been too insistent on what I wanted to happen next, I would have missed the beauty of what actually came. And so I don't know what's next, and I'm really looking forward to finding out.
So were you surprised when Halo came along? Were you expecting it to come along, or was it just completely out of the blue?
No, God, how could you expect to play this big green guy? You know, it's not something ever, as if you're playing the game as a teenager, you're not sitting there going like, I'm gonna play that guy on TV. But when they ask you to, it's like, holy shit.
So you're open to it, and you just kept your mind open.
It's not, you know, and being in a video game adaptation is not anything I ever thought about.
Yeah.
Being an action star is not anything I ever thought about, but after like 13 hours, Den of Thieves, and now this, there's a definite like drift in that direction, or that door is open to me. So, and that's another thing about me is like when a door opens up for me, I'm kind of like, well, let's try this door over here.
It's kind of badass, though, isn't it?
Which part?
The
being asked to be an action star?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, but it could be confining, you know, like anything.
Sure.
Identity, period, is confining.
Yeah.
Right? And as an actor, I think if you want to have an interesting career, you want to avoid identity. You want to avoid people deciding that you're something and asking you to keep doing that. You want to focus on doing things that are as different from what you did before as possible, so that you can keep your bag of tricks and options as open as possible.
So is there a natural inclination after you do, say, you know, an action series for X amount of time to kind of smash that and do something completely different?
100%. I mean, I used to be more religious about this in general than I am now.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, if something presents itself, I think because I feel like I've gotten past the sort of typecasting thing, you know, because I've shown that I can do many different things. But I used to be very much like, if I did one thing, then the next thing had to be like opposite. You know, and it started early on, you know, with how different the character from The Wire is from the character Orange is the New Black, and those are kind of the two, you know, bench posts that created the opportunity for me to be here today. But those characters are so different, and then if you throw Mad Sweeney from American Gods in there, the looks and the vibes of the characters are all so different that it allows me to be able to bring myself into different genres easily, which I'm super grateful for, and play characters that are different from each other in a way that if I wasn't able to do that, I think I'd get a little bored.
Long way away from those 2 monologues that you did, eh?
So far. It's amazing. You know, it really is amazing how, again, life happens to you and you get to kind of look back and see how it's progressed. Because at the end of the day now, I feel so lucky that and I didn't understand this when I was getting into this career and decided I wanted to be an actor. I was kind of like, this seems like something I could do. Let's see what happens. Now I understand that it really was the only option for me ever. And I was just actually saying this to Tom Powers, and I hope it doesn't feel repetitive if somebody else has seen this, but for me, the real beauty of getting to be an actor is that I get to have the largest life experience in the shortest amount of time. Because every few months I get to try on a new life. I get to try something else on for size and throw myself into as many different situations as possible.
Life is tough out there right now, and there might be, you know, folks watching this, there probably are, that are, you know, working 2 jobs, running 2 auditions, their passion is acting. What would your advice be to them if they're like, do I throw in the towel? Do I stick with this?
If you love it, stick with it. You know, if it's your thing, then stick with it. One of the things that kept me going when I was in New York, and it took me a long time to kind of get settled where I felt like I was stable as an actor. And one of the things that kept me going is this idea of the law of attrition. You know, like if you love it and you stick with it, you're gonna get an opportunity. Somebody's going to give you an opportunity, and if you're ready for that opportunity and ready to capitalize on that opportunity, it'll come around. And it turned out to be true for me, and I hope, you know, for people who might be watching this now that it turns out for them. But definitely, if it's a passion, don't let it go. Don't stop doing it.
It's still your passion.
Still 100%. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Talk to me a bit about the Halo universe, because I know that it's like super deep. And you got really into like just the depth of this and the storytelling that you can do. So talk to me about season 2 and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, season 2, I'm looking forward to so much. I mean, I think one of the biggest things is a shift in tone, you know. But to go back and hit what you were saying about the lore and the depth of the lore, you know, we all played Halo as teenagers, you know, or at least anybody who's my age, 100%, you know, had some time there. I spent time as Master Chief. And but I didn't have video games growing up, so I would have to go to my friends' houses to sneak it.
Yeah.
So my experience with the franchise wasn't huge until I got the job. And then, man, I was so lucky because 343, which is the company that makes the video games, they brought me up to Seattle to Microsoft and took me through what they call the Halo Boot Camp, which is just like a 2 or 3 day in-depth dive into Halo and the larger lore and to all the various forms of media that Halo represents across, novels, graphic novels, and animated movies, as well as the video games. So there's just a wealth of information. The lore runs so deep, and there's so many stories that you can draw from and tell that as a creator and as an artist just presented this gold mine.
So were you kind of nervous taking this on? Because, there are millions and millions of fans. It seems like kind of a big responsibility. And so how did you kind of, think about that when you were in the depths of research?
I didn't. To be honest, I didn't think about it at all.
You didn't?
When I took the job. I got, the sense of how important it was to people when I started to see my social media, after the announcement and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, right away, you could feel it was a franchise that millions of people loved and millions of people had very strong feelings about.
Right.
It wasn't until the release of season 1 that I kind of understood the depths of that and how large the response was, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, like all of it. There are, I think, 50 million copies of the game sold.
Wow.
So just start with that as a number of the people who consume this media and love this media, right? And for every single Halo fan that you have, there's another opinion on like what direction it should take, what it should go, and how it should be. And the beautiful thing about Halo fans is that they're incredibly passionate. They love the source material, and they're not shy about saying what they think it should be.
Did you get like mean tweets and stuff?
Of course. Lots of mean tweets, lots of love tweets, lots of love from the fans in spades, and lots of opinions that also were negative. And for me, I can't say I love them equally, but I will say I love them all because it displays a level of passion that shows engagement with the franchise, and I respect that a lot.
So we'll talk about season 2 in a moment, but I want to go back to season 1 because, as you were saying, I understand that, a lot of fans were divided because the show kind of deviated a little bit away from the video game. Do you think that's a good thing that it did that? And tell me a little bit about that response.
I think the biggest thing that was hard for people to take is that it deviated from the experience of the video game, but we were never out to recreate the experience of the video game. You're adding to the Halo universe, you're adding to the experience of the video games, and it's a totally different medium, So there's that. And, I think there was also fan criticism around, some of the emotions that Master Chief displayed in the dawning of his humanity, and that's an effect of telling a different story in the Halo universe that you don't touch on in the video games. But we also take that to heart, and we also listen to that. And I think that, there were things about season 1 that I was on board with, things that I wasn't on board with. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's consistent about season 2 is we're definitely pushing away from some of the deeper emotive moments and not veering away from his experience of becoming more human, because that's a crucial part of our storytelling. Right. But some of the behavior that felt less familiar to Halo fans, I think it's less existent in season 2.
So what are some of the themes that are explored in season 2?
There's obviously the great themes of Halo, which go through the game, which is, what sides of humanity are positive, what sides are negative. When you deal with the humans as reclaimers for these artifacts, you're looking at what is it about humanity that makes them worthy of finding the Halo versus the Covenant, right? So there's that. There's the issue of why do we fight at all? What do wars provide for us as a species, and why do we fight them? You're dealing with the effects of war on human beings and on soldiers, which are huge themes as well. But mostly you're following the inner and psychological journey of this guy, Master Chief John, as he begins to question what parts of himself are his own and what parts of himself he owes to the larger group of humanity.
So do you feel like you're kind of like, you're comfortable now in the character, or did you feel that immediately in season 1? Or is there a different level of comfort now in season 2?
I feel like the first season was a lot about the character, figuring out who he was and what elements of his humanity, because they were all new. So there was a discomfort to the character in general that was plot driven.
Right.
I'm very comfortable in the second season because there's a new showrunner whose take on the material I really enjoy and I really love. Mm-hmm. And I'm really quite comfortable saying his words and being a part of helping him create his vision for the second season.
Yeah, this is on Paramount Plus. Talk to me about how kind of like the world of streaming has changed how accessible a show like this is to people really around the world. And we're at a conventional television network right now, but streaming has really changed things.
Yeah, obviously, every one of the massive media companies has their streaming service that they use to get content out, and that story now is global, right? Everyone is opening up to new markets. So as an artist, that's great because your work goes all over the world. Yeah. It's exposed to millions and millions of people. And it's lovely, obviously, to have that kind of access.
Did you train a lot for this? Because I understand that you said there was some kind of boot camp, but there's also like a physical boot camp as well.
Yeah, the boot camp I mentioned was the Halo boot camp. Yeah. It is less physical. Put myself through my own boot camp with my trainer in preparation for every season. We start about 3 or 4 months prior to the season shooting, and the big goal for us is to put on as much muscle weight as possible. Because I'm a pretty thin build naturally.
I saw some Instagram photos. You look pretty like shredded. So, like, was that immediate or is that just
no?
Was that part of the boot camp?
Yeah, no. The footage is from these times when I lean out for having less clothes on camera. Okay. Yeah. And that's why I'm shredded. Just to have that super soldier look. But most of the time when I'm walking around and when I'm shooting, I'm quite bulky. I'm carrying my weight a little differently than that.
So great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Nice
to speak with you as well. Thanks, Travis.